Welcome back to part two of White Picket Fences of Perfection, a memoir of an all-American black girl. A black girl who grew up with a narcissistic father, and how that looks to have a narcissistic father in your adult life as well. And I just want to remind everybody that I'm doing these videos because I see a lot of information about, oh, my mom was a narcissist, my mom was an abusive narcissist. No one talks in the black community talks about how our dads are. And when your dad is a narcissist and what that looks like under the patriarchy and what tactics he uses on their daughters, because it's very prevalent about narcissistic fathers and their sons. They will use a lot of violence to control their sons, a lot of violence and anger, unless the son is the golden child. And at the end of this video, I need to explain to you all about your role in the house and what it means to be a scapegoat and what it means to be a golden child. Actually, I'll tell y'all that right now. So when you grow up in a home with a narcissistic parent, mine was my father, everyone is assigned a role. My mother was the mediator. My mother was a person who kept my father in line, who reminded my father that I'm his daughter and that his daughter needs things to live, like financial things to live. My brother is the golden child. The golden child can't do wrong. The golden child gets everything they want, not because they're more deserving, but because the narcissist is preparing the golden child to attack the scapegoat target child when the target child comes forward to the family and to the public. They're preparing that child to become the narcissist. And they're preparing that child actually to be the narcissist over the target child when they die. How insane does that sound? Any one of y'all who know me from high school, college, or whatever, know I have a brother, what it looks like, what would it look like for my brother to be an abusive narcissist to me? And what makes a narcissist father think that I'm not going to eventually get married and my husband is going to look at my brother and be like, no, you're not. Not today. Not my wife. Like, that is so delusional. And a narcissistic parent is delusional. That's what they are. They're very much sick. They're very much delusional. They're living in their own reality that's not true. Very illogical. So that was my brother role. I'm the scapegoat. I'm the target. I'm the one that everyone gets to attack in the home to regulate their nervous system because of the narcissistic parent. That's what those roles were in my house. We had the narcissist, who was my father. We had the mediator, who was my mother. We have the golden child, which is my brother. And then me, I'm the target child. I am the scapegoat. And understand that fathers choose the daughter a lot as the scapegoat if they have one, because it's just easier to do it. Because the way the patriarchy is designed, the way gender roles is designed, the way it's designed that women are less than and devalued, it is easier for me to target and turn the family against my daughter versus my son, who, in a sense, the son is supposed to go on and be a provider, supposed to have that male privilege. He gets to exert misogyny, right? He gets to obtain power on his own. So it's easy. It's easier to do it to the daughter. So let's get into this. Me from 9 to 12 years old. First, I'm going to speak and say my experience, right? So from about 9 to 11, a lot of this stuff calmed down. Like, my mother still was very neglectful emotionally, but, she stayed her role about if we're sick, she's taking us to the hospital. The isolation stopped, right? It started at 9 years old. I was allowed to have friends. I was allowed to spend the night at friends' houses. I was allowed to interact with peers outside of my family, outside of my cousins, but to maintain the control, everybody had to come to our property. That's why when I grew up, we had trampolines, we had this basketball goal, we had swing sets, we had everything on our property in our yard so that the kids could come to us, because at that time, our father wouldn't let us go to them. But I did have some freedom, right? I could have sleepovers, I could have friends, and that continued to fifth and sixth grade, right? I didn't really have any friends, I want to say, in middle school, like close friends, like that ace boo coon, because when you have a narcissistic parent, they're not going to let you have best friends. They'll let you have spurts of friends, but they're going to ruin it. And as a child, being in a narcissistic household with a narcissistic father and all these dynamics going on, I just don't have time to have friends. My nervous system and my brain, I couldn't obtain that. And that's what was happening. We're talking about puberty at this time, right? So I'm starting my cycle at 12 years old. My body is changing. I gained a lot of weight because I didn't want anybody to, because of what happened from 5 to 8 years old, the sexual assault. I didn't really want anyone looking at me. So I was not interested in boys, not really in middle school. I just used the concept of applying myself to achieve. So when I was in fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, anything I put my mind to it, like I started band in seventh grade and I said, I'm going to skip over concert band and be in symphonic band in eighth grade. And I did. And I got my medals. I only had to do a solo, but I did a solo or quartet and a trio because I'm going to achieve and apply myself. In sixth grade, that's when I started getting honor roll because I was like, oh, so if I get honor roll and make good grades, then I get to go eat ice cream or go across the street to this church and play and all this. Like it was so many incentives for making good grades. So my grades went up tremendously because I have to apply myself, like, right? So I taught myself how to do my own homework, go to class. Mind you, my whole time in school, I never had a detention or a referral. Not because I was just perfect child, hell no. Because I already knew if I brought something like that home, even a detention, the abuse that I would suffer would be tremendous. I mean, my daddy would keep me up. He'll keep me up all night over a detention. But my brother was freely to get detentions. He was freely to talk in class. He had the freedom because my father actually raised him and didn't terrorize him. He terrorized me. So I started getting all these incentives. But one thing I noticed is that my parents would never celebrate me. They never celebrate all of these honor rolls. They never celebrated me jumping from beginning band to symphonic band when I was supposed to do beginning concert and symphonic. Any of these achievements, I was speaking in public. I was the chief of Cub Patrol in eighth grade. If y'all remember that at Cobb Middle School, I was the chief of Cub Patrol, just, doing my thing. I was achieving in middle school. And I would never get any accolades from my parents because why? The target child doesn't get accolades. Understand, when the target child, the scapegoat child, they never celebrate the scapegoat child's wins. Never. Because actually to celebrate that child means you're giving up control, you're giving up power, and you are encouraging independence in that child. You are showing empathy. You are allowing that child to be seen. That don't happen when your dad is a narcissist. I don't ever want her to be seen. Now understand, anytime I got in trouble at home, which was rare, like when I say it was rare, from my brother's perspective, it's not going to seem rare. Because during this time as well, my mother would withhold rules and information to start an argument. That's what happens in an abusive household. Because if my dad is busy yelling at me, disciplining me, and talking about me telling all my business to the family, then she can hide in the shadows and not be abused, right? And I don't have any ill feelings towards her for that. That was just her survival. That's how she survived as the mediator. Sometimes she would have the argument start so that she can get some peace so that she could sleep that night. in spite of her child. So that was going on as well. But it was a real quiet time. I just was achieving and not getting noticed at home. And actually, I was fine with it. I was fine with it. I was playing softball. I was fine with it. Anything for them to leave me alone, I loved it. I didn't want no attention. I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to go in my room. I just wanted to sit outside. I didn't want my parents to notice me at all. So me achieving and them not giving me accolades didn't bother me. But at 13 years old, here I am about to transition from preteen to teen into high school. My daddy made sure to call me fat and ugly. And that's when the fat shaming started. The fat shaming started at 13 years old. And that's when a transition of discipline transitioned to my dad from my mother. My mother was hands off at 13, and my father swooped in. And that's when the fat shaming started. And understand, my brother never saw any of this because a narcissistic parent isn't going to do any of these tactics. So I'm about to explain a series of tactics from 13 to 18 that my brother did not see, and my mother didn't see them. He hid them well. So that's why my brother does not believe me to this day, because he's like, I didn't grow up like that. That wasn't my experience. But a narcissistic parent doesn't abuse their children in front of other people. Typically, not a father. The way my father did it, he didn't do it in front of other people. And if he did it in front of other people, it was for a specific reason. So, fat shaming. I go to the 9th grade. Now I'm like kind of interested in boys, right? And in the 9th grade, I started losing weight because that's what happens, right? And I started losing weight. I started paying attention to my hair more, how I dress, and I started being interested in boys. I was being very competitive with my softball. So in the off season, in 9th grade, I swooped in and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go run with the softball team. I'm gonna go condition in the winter with them because I want to join the team in the spring. So I started losing weight, and the boys started noticing me a little bit. My father did not like that shit at all. Let me tell you, my father got so mad at an actual boy actually liking me that he became a monster to me at 14. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. 13, 14, my dad became a whole monster. And he started handling me like I was a grown woman. In 9th grade, that man slapped me in the face for coming to the car late, and he slapped me in front of two of my brother football teammates, and they told everybody that he slapped me. See, that's the part my father didn't know, that they went and ran their mouth, and they told everybody. They told the boys. So now the boys are like, oh, so her daddy slapping her in the face, so we can run right through her. Like, her daddy don't really care about her that much, right? He always around. He don't care about her that much. We talking about slapping in the faces. We're talking about keeping me up all night so I'm tired. The next day, it was just so much yelling and fussing. It was so much going on in that house. It was chaotic for me. And from 14 to 18, I was doing everything right. I was following every rule to the T. And I'm like, why am I still getting disciplined like this? Why am I still getting yelled at? Why am I getting slapped in the face? Why am I getting grabbed? Why am I getting embarrassed in front of other people? Why aren't these people teaching me how to drive? My brother had to teach me how to drive. You see, we're back to not teaching her independence. Because tying her shoes is independent. Learning left from right is independence. We're not teaching her how. We're going to give the illusion that we're teaching her how to drive. When my mother and father found out I knew how to drive, when I got that license on 16, it was hell in that house. They were yelling. I don't even know what they did with my brother for teaching me. They did something, so I know he got disciplined. But it's like, why are you mad that your 16-year-old daughter knows how to drive? Like, it was literally taking away my independence. I felt like, this is me. I felt like my father was doing everything in his power to make me a codependent, take away my independence, take away my power, and to not graduate from high school. To this day, I don't believe my father thought I would have made this far in education. He didn't want it. And when I became a senior in high school, I already knew that it was about to be fucking hell in that house. Because now my brother gone. So now my father can freely act a fool with me all he wants to without my brother's eyes on it. And my father got so abusive and such a fucking narcissist that he strangled me in high school. My classmates did not know that, because when he strangled me that night, guess what I did? Get up and went to school like nothing happened, because I was already used to it. Didn't think nothing of it. As a domestic violence expert, now I'm on high alert for myself at this big age. I'm like, wow. Like, your dad actually put his hands around your neck and squeezed. When survivors of domestic violence explain strangulation, I sit down with them and tell them, sweetheart, that man is going to unalive you. So think about that with a narcissist and their daughter, that he got to the point where he felt comfortable enough to strangle me. And this happened twice. The second time my mother caught it in the middle before he even did it. The first time she was caught off guard, the second time she caught it. And to this day, there is nothing I did in that household to upset my father to that point. At 17, 18 years old, about to go to college, that would make him want to do that to me. What happened was what narcissistic parents do and fathers do and narcissistic adults do. They terrorize you for days and days and days. So leading up to those events, that's what was happening. When I'm going home, he's bothering me. He's following me around the house. He's terrorizing me. He's keeping me up at night. And I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do? Right? I'm on the honor roll. I'm participating in activities. I'm playing sports. I'm an all-American black girl. Hell, I'm a debutante. A lot of y'all may not know that, but I am a debutante. I'm doing all of these things. And I've gotten accepted to FAMU and the University of Central Florida and Florida State University. And you had the audacity to be following me around the house, terrorizing me, and making me feel less than, yelling at me to the point where you strangled me. And you had the audacity to go out in the public and act like you're the father of the fucking year. And you over here putting your hands on your daughter in a way that's like out of control, right? So when I tell people my story now about how I ended up at the University of Central Florida, I was going to stay and go to FAMU. My mother sent me to Orlando. She made sure I got there. She made sure I got to Orlando. She made sure that rent was paid, that tuition was paid. My mom made sure everything in her power to keep me down there. Because she knew that that her husband was going to unalive me in that house. She knew it. And even after I graduated from college, my mother paid my rent. She paid them bills, and she made sure I was taken care of until I found my first job working for the Department of Children and Families as a child protective investigator in May of 2005. She made sure that shit. Because one thing she did not want me to do was come home. And she said it, you cannot come home. Not because she didn't want me at home, but she motivated me to stay in Orlando and be a young woman in Orlando and not here in Tallahassee. But the underlying foundation of that was, if she come live at this house, my husband is going to murder her. Not because of anything I do. It's because I'm the scapegoat, I'm the target child, and I'm a woman. And hear me clearly. If that would have happened, that would have been my legacy. That I assaulted my father, and that's why he murdered me. And that's another reason, as a domestic violence expert and a clinician, put out your story. Because if you don't put out your story, if you are a scapegoat child, if you have a narcissistic parent, whether it's your mother or father or whatever, you got to put your story out, because the ultimate goal of a narcissist is for the target child to have a death, a spiritual death, a criminal death where they're sent to prison, a alcoholic death, a psychiatric death, so that the scapegoat's legacy can live on as the problem, and that the narcissistic parent will never be exposed. Because if the scapegoat child succeeds, now everyone's looking at the narcissistic father and saying, well, you told us X, Y, and Z about that child. That child is problematic. Why is this child so successful? Why is this child on TV? Why is this child well known? As I am a well-known domestic violence expert. People know me all the way in Oregon. And this is not no game. I have an LLC. I have a contract business for domestic violence and program development and all these things. I have a career. I have a full-time job. I have an amazing apartment right now. And anything that my father is saying, especially how my father and godmother, which is his sister, trying to say I'm in some type of psychosis, or that I'm lying, or that I'm the problem, they could keep that in the family. Because I want you as a scapegoat child, so specifically if you're a daughter of a father that's a narcissist, you're not the problem. And if that family unit, your aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, take your narcissistic parent's side, let them have it. Because I guarantee you, they will not go outside of that circle and tell the extended family, because they will sound absolutely nuts. If anybody in my extended family sees this and talk to my family about it, they're going to tell you something that's bonkers. I promise you, it's going to be so many holes in what they're trying to say, when they really can just say, that's her story. That's how she feels. You're going to have to go ask her about her experience. That's not going to happen. But thanks for hanging with me this long. So now let's get into adulthood in part 3. And adulthood, it gets real good. It gets so good when you are an adult child, when you are an adult daughter of a narcissistic father. It's going to get good, y'all. It's going to get real, weird.